oh, you're from India, you're very smart. Oh, you're from India, you're probably studying computer science. And then when I confirm, yes, I am. Like, you see, where we told you you're from India, you're smart,
In today's episode, we brought our guests to find out if it is really harder to be an international student.
For me, I would say
But while answering questions, defending stereotypes, and speaking about first encounter with the food,
the food is blank.
the episode makes an interesting turn, and we find out
I think where I've been most affected as an international student is when it comes to
People don't understand the struggles of being an international student. Can you shed light on the topic?
I feel like they don't understand that we came from different cultures. So we're already in cultural shock. And we do something that is considered offensive here, and then they make a big deal out of it. Like my language in the beginning, the way I used to speak used to be so rude. And I've had like people telling me that you're so rude in the middle of the class. Even a couple of days ago, a classmate of mine came to me and said that, I know that you're very passionate about studies, but the way you behave with the professor is so rude and bad. I'm like, okay, but they don't understand because they grew up in America with Americans and we came from different places. So it's our job basically to adjust here, but they can actually guide us instead of taking out faults from me. Like, that's how I feel.
I think where I've been most affected as an international student is when it comes to job opportunities. Not because I don't understand the system, it's just sometimes it can be very frustrating to want to apply or want to do things and not be able to do them. So I think that for me was one of the biggest struggles as an international student. Also, it involves a lot of documentation. You have to be careful with what you do and what you don't do because you could accept something and be breaking the law. So I think there's a lot of nuance to understanding that process.
What's the biggest culture shock you've experienced after coming to the US?
For me, the biggest cultural shock was food. We come from a place like in India, the food is like everything. We can make 1,000 different things from just a couple of ingredients. Here, the food is blank. I feel like we're more welcoming back home, and here people just do things because there's kind of like an obligation to do it. It doesn't come from the heart. We welcome people only if we feel like. So that's like, I feel, is different here.
What would I consider the biggest culture shock? I think it was, it has to do with food too, I'd say. I'm used to a kind of certain palate, especially when it comes to pepper. And pepper isn't really a big thing here. So for the first couple of months, I could barely taste what I was eating. But I think you get used to it and you also get to appreciate the dishes that are here. So I would say that was my biggest question.
What's the most absurd stereotype about international students that you've encountered?
well, I think I've encountered a stereotype specifically pertaining to my background as an African. It's been true exactly. The first one was the assumption that I'm from Nigeria. Yeah, I am not from Nigeria. I'm from Zimbabwe, and so I think there was the assumption that when people hear your accent, they can tell that you're not an American. So the next assumption is that he's Nigerian. So I think yeah, Nigeria is like an 8-hour flight away from Zimbabwe. So yeah, that was like the first one. The next one was generally the whole stereotype around Africa as a continent. A lot of people kind of assume things about Africa, but then I think it's been my duty as well to educate those that I come across that, hey, it's a country with we have countries, we have buildings, we have things like that you find in a normal civilization, but we might differ in certain things, maybe culture and things like that, yeah.
Me, the biggest stereotype I've heard is that, oh, you're from India, you're very smart. Oh, you're from India, you're probably studying computer science. And then when I confirm, yes, I am. Like, you see, where we told you you're from India, you're smart, you're this, you're good at math. Well, I'm not. I am not good at math. You have money. You guys are here because you want to make more money and multiply it and send it back. So that's like kind of repetitive, like not all Indians are intelligent and as smart as people think they are.
A stereotype. I think it's underestimating the education that takes place in Africa. I usually have to tell people that because we grew up under the British system of education, it's slightly complicated and advanced, so that kind of puts us ahead in terms of the things we know. I think a lot of people also mistake that for us just, being very, very intelligent when it's really due to the background in which we grew up. So I think the stereotype that the education level is low, when in contrary it's actually very, very much advanced and very difficult to leave and school in, is what I would say.